I'm Tabi. Welcome, friends. This week we're going to talk about anger. And in general, I make videos once a week with tips and tricks to help you transform your life one day at a time. Today we're going to talk about anger. I'm going to give you some examples of what it is and what it isn't, why it comes around, and a different way of thinking about it that makes it healthy instead of a bad thing. And near the end of the video, I'm going to show you my new favorite practice for dealing with anger quickly and effectively and moving on. And it's active, which I love because the whole deep breathing nonsense doesn't really help me when I'm angry enough to want to punch something, which was earlier today. So this practice works. Let's get started. So, what is anger? I would really like to point out that anger is a completely natural human emotion. One of many. Not better or worse than any other. It gets a bad reputation in our culture of being something that's evil or immoral. There's lots of connections and attachments to this idea that you shouldn't be angry. And I think it's been really damaging. I think you should not be violent. I don't think that anger is the same as violent. And that anger can actually be useful. So, I'll talk about the uses in a second. But first I wanted to give you some alternative words for that emotion, because when I was going through my journey of trying to figure out how I even felt in different situations, felt like I had three emotions. I knew when I was happy, I knew when I was sad, and I knew when I was angry. And anything more than that, anyone's guess. So learning the names of a bunch of different, similar but different emotions is really helpful for me to pinpoint how I was actually feeling and maybe have a better idea of where it came from and therefore how to deal with it. So I'm going to read out a list of different words that are similar to anger but not the same. So as I list out these other words, it's actually a good practice, which you don't have to do, but you can, to think about how each word actually makes you feel and what it ties to in your mind. So you might sit down and write down each word and think about a situation where you felt enraged instead of outraged, and just see if there's any difference in the words. It might give you some interesting clues into your own self, and that's what we're here to figure out, is ourselves. So I'm gonna do the list. Mad. That's a common one. Anger and mad. Furious. Outraged. Raging. Enraged. Fuming. Irate. Wrathful. Boiling. Aggravated. Resentful. Irritable. Offended. Annoyed. Some of those words probably have a different feeling for you than others. Some might feel more or less intense, and it's good to be able to have an idea of where you are. Are you full on to boiling, or are you just a bit annoyed? Are you irritated or irate? And if you don't know what a word is, you can look it up, but figuring out what some of the different words represent for you can be really helpful in identifying where you're at and communicating that to other people. If you're trying to talk to somebody and you're like, I'm angry, okay, but why? And if you can break it down to well, actually I'm feeling really furious at this person, but really irritated at this other person. Those mean different things, and they can be helpful in figuring out what happened and how to move forward with it, what things really need to be dealt with right away, and what things you can maybe deal with on your own. So those are some ideas. Common triggers for anger are injustice, frustration, and feeling unheard. I also think that the most helpful explanation of anger that I've ever gotten in my life, I would like to say that women are taught we're not allowed to be angry, but I honestly think men are also really taught they're not allowed to be angry anymore. No one's allowed to be angry. And I think that, as I've already said, it's not about being angry. You're allowed to be angry. But I didn't really feel that I was allowed to be angry until I heard that anger is actually a normal response to having your boundaries crossed. That when your boundaries are crossed, the way that you can tell is that you will feel angry. That blew my mind. If my anger is a direct response to somebody doing something that is opposed to what I believe in, they've crossed my boundaries, then anger is completely rational, makes so much sense for me to feel, And if I recognize that that means something, my anger means something, I have a better chance of doing something about it that is going to be equal in proportion to what was done. And that doesn't mean an eye for an eye at all. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if somebody's crossing my boundaries in a big way at work, and I recognize that I am furious at this person, rather than doing something small or petty to try to get back at them, I might be like, oh, I need to go to our boss and have a conversation about this because that was not okay. And my anger is telling me that the thing that happened is not just a little thing. I'm not overreacting. It's not small. I am so upset that what they did was really wrong, and I have every right to go and protect myself in the ways that I need to at work. Share it with somebody who can help the situation get better and move on with my life. So owning your anger, recognizing what it's for, and treating it as a welcome guest instead of something you need to shove down or push away, it's a lot healthier. So that's an idea. So I think that's a good description for healthy anger versus destructive anger. When we use our anger as an excuse to try to do things back or get revenge or react to people in ways that are violent or scary or damaging, that's not helpful anger. That's destructive anger. And, you know, we didn't all grow up with gentle parents or whatever, people who knew how to help us navigate and manage our anger, because they probably didn't know how to navigate their anger or do it in healthy ways. And so we just learned from them, and they just learned from their parents. On and on it goes. But let's break the cycle, because we can. So how do we do that? We learn about what it is, like you're doing right now. We get curious about ourselves and our own reactions, and we learn some techniques to help us deal with it. So let's jump into the tips and tricks to help us deal with our anger. I think one of the most common ones is like a 10-second pause. When you're feeling really angry, you stop and you count to 10. If you can do that, that's incredible. Good on you. When I'm really mad, I can't do that. Pausing is very far from my ability at the moment. One of the things that I learned in a 12-step self-help program called Al-Anon is that every year of the program gives you 1 second of pause. And I feel like that was very true, that every year that I spent putting in some effort and energy, not a lot, not a ton, not all the time, but putting in some energy and effort into self-growth and realizing who I was and healing the things that had happened in my life, I gained an extra second of being able to pause when something emotional or scary or damaging that made me angry happened. So if you were like, I can't pause for 10 seconds, like, cool, but in 10 years you could. So start on that process now, because every second is worth it. And while a second might not sound like a lot, the difference between being able to be like, and stopping for a single second and going, oh, maybe I don't want to yell at you, that's not helped, is huge. So it's well worth the time and energy and effort, and you can absolutely do it, but don't expect that to be like a quick fix. The quick fix is coming in a minute or so. Deep breathing is a great one. Box breathing, if you can manage to get yourself to pause or to recognize that you're in this deeply angered state. Breathing out longer than you breathe in. People will generally breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds or longer, and then cycle again. That can be super helpful. Every time we breathe out longer than we breathe in, we're resetting our nervous system, and we're allowing our resting, digesting, calming nervous system to start to take back over for our stressed out nervous system, because we have two sides to that nervous system. And anytime you breathe out longer than you breathe in, you're telling your body, we're not being chased by a tiger. We can calm down. That's a good hack. I really like that one. What else? Physical activity. Punch a pillow. I'm a big fan of punching pillows. When you're furious and you really don't want to punch anybody around you, which is always, getting somewhere private, taking out that physical energy, super helpful for anger. So finding healthy ways to channel it is great. Physical activity in general can be good. going for a run every day might help you to manage the frustration and the anger that pops up at work. Skipping, you might notice that you are more angry. So pay attention to your triggers and to what sorts of physical activity help you. Maybe going for a walk at sunset is really calming and helps you notice what's going on for you. Maybe you like to go for a run early in the morning, or do push-ups at work when you know you're about to have a frustrating meeting so that you're not as riled up when you get there. Find a way to incorporate physical activity to help you deal with your anger. That's a really healthy one. Anger is bad for your heart. Exercise is good for your heart. Net neutral. There you go. And then, of course, journaling what you feel and why and how they're wrong, and then sort of recognizing that maybe you had a part in it too. Helpful. As well as therapy. Talking to somebody who can help you identify patterns of thinking that you are not aware of, because if you were aware of them, you wouldn't be doing it. If you're like, this always happens, or I always end up in the same kind of relationship, or I always get so mad at my boss and I keep getting fired. Therapy. Be brave. Go to therapy. And if you don't like the person, find a new one, because there's definitely somebody that you will like and you will connect with, and that can help you. So if you meet with somebody and you're like, oh, it's probably just not a good fit, and that's okay. Find somebody else. And if you have ADHD like me and you struggle, find somebody who can help you find somebody. And you might be surprised at the people in your life that are totally willing to help you if you're willing to ask them. So, good luck. I trust that you can do it. Be brave. So now it's time. So, my new favorite, number one exercise for dealing with anger. Quick story. Sorry. I was supposed to post a different video today, but when I went to review it, all the audio was terrible. And it was really emotional, and I was nervous about posting it, and I was like, and I can't even use it. I was so mad, so I did this practice. The basic idea of this practice is relaxation. Pretty much the opposite of anger, I guess. I actually found it on YouTube from a Shaolin monk, supposedly. I don't know. And what he said was, in order to create relaxation in the body, you first have to physically stress it. And when I did this practice, I realized, this would be a really good way to get out the sort of physical intensity that comes with anger for me, and to move past that in a really helpful, healing way. So, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your two fists, and you're going to basically pretend like there's a force field in between them that you can't push through. So you're not pushing against your own fists. You're pushing against the idea of your own fists, as if there was something in between them that you can't break through. You're going to push as hard as you can without touching them. And you're really just getting like your entire body into this exercise, pushing as hard as you can. Shaolin monk said you hold this for 4 minutes. I don't honestly think I could do that. So hold it as long as you can, and then hold it just a little bit longer. So when I did this exercise to get myself into the state of mind to be able to move past my anger, probably only held it about 20 seconds, maybe 30, and it was enough. My arms are tired, I was breathing heavy, a little tired now even just doing that. The amount of effort that you can put into it, if you can really trick yourself into thinking like, I am pushing against something as hard as I physically can, and maybe you actually take something like a pillow and you actually do push into it, if you struggle with that idea of, fake pushing. But I find that it's the best way for me to not hurt myself. Because no matter what your level of ability is, you cannot physically push yourself harder. Well, maybe some people can, but I cannot physically push myself harder than my body can handle just by doing things where I'm not touching or pushing against anything else or myself. So that's a good way for me to put out maximum energy and not be afraid of hurting myself. Do it whatever way you want to. It's your life. You get to change anything to make it work for you. But that's the exercise. Afterward, just notice how you feel in your body. Let it all go, relax, maybe rest your hands on your legs. Just feel. And if you still feel it, you still feel anger just boiling up in you, do it again. Or do it in a slightly different way. But once was enough for me, and I was very mad. And once I had done that exercise of really just getting out so much of my physical intensity in that way, I was able to do the breathing. I was able to calm my mind. I was able to get a little bit more clear on what's actually important to me. You know, not posting that video right now today, but posting a video, being helpful, being consistent to my own goals, which are to post a video every week, showing up for my audience and for myself. It was more important than being angry that I had a malfunction and that I wasted a bunch of time, because, you know, I really didn't. I can still make that video later and it'll be better because I did it once before. Or I can not. It also helped me to process the things that I was talking about in that video. So, you know, nothing's really wasted effort if it's in the direction of something that you think you want. So, see how much calmer I am after doing the anger exercise? It works. So yeah, that's the video for today. Just wanted to share a bit about anger and coming to a healthier relationship with it. I do really think it's important to say that all of the emotions are just emotions and they're not the truth. So if you feel sad, you do feel it, but it's not true that the world is sad or that everything is sad. If you feel angry, it's not true that everything is angry. If you hurt, it's not true that everything is pain. Our emotions are teachers, and they show up to help us and to show us things, but they're not the truth. And I think that can be a really important distinction and something I'll probably talk about in future videos. But your anger is not you. You are something deeper than that. You are the being experiencing the anger. So don't let it run you. Don't let it run the show. Don't let it control you. Acknowledge it. Be aware of it. Be thankful for it even. And then do things to help it move on. To help yourself move on. To separate yourself from the being angry into whatever's next for you. Moving through that. So that we can all have a happier, kinder, saner world. Yeah. Thanks for coming along this week. I would love it if you would click the like button, subscribe, leave me a comment. I'm a small channel trying to grow and help as many people as I can. So if you got any value out of this, let me know. I would love to hear it. It's really hard in the beginning of a channel to convince yourself to keep going. But I've been seeing a little bit of growth, and everybody that is here, I am so insanely, wonderfully grateful for you. You're the best. So if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. I adore you. I'm so appreciative and grateful. And now that I've done my anger exercise, I feel a lot better. So I'm going to have a great rest of my day. I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely week, and a lovely life. And I'll see you next time. Bye.